This is the sixth time I've done this video. I'm not putting images in because I'm going to do an Elimination Chamber. And you're going to say, wait, what time are you doing this video? It's almost 11 now. And you're going to say, you got plenty of time. Not if you're an insomniac that has problems sleeping. So you're not getting any images. And it's pissing me off. So you're just going to get commentary. I mean, you're going to get what I feel. Now, you already see the title of this. And you're going to say, dude, seriously? You're going to say this was a great show. I'm not doubting you. I'm not disagreeing with you. I am agreeing with you. I am agreeing. The work in the ring was great. But that's if you could see it. I have been doing this for nearly 12 years. This year will be my 12th year. I started in 2012. It's 2024. I've been doing this for 12 years. I had reviewed, understand, WWE, SmackDown, Raw, and NXT. I had reviewed TNA. I had reviewed Impact. I had reviewed MLW. I had reviewed a few episodes of New Japan Pro Wrestling. I had reviewed NWA Power. I had reviewed National Wrestling League. Yes, I did. That's a place, KC, National Wrestling League. I reviewed multiple different promotions. GCW also reviewed it. And I have seen bad camera work. Guys, I'm going to tell you the show, how it went. And as best as possible, how each match went. Of course, I can't be detailed because I'm not a blow-by-blow type of reviewer. But I'm going to tell you now. 95% of every match was bad camera work. Either too many zoom-ins, too many zoom-outs, or legitimately we got backs of heads, backs of backs, backs of asses, crotch shots, dick shots, tit shots, very few dick shots. Whoever was, those guys holding the camera, I think they're like dicks. Because that's all they kept shooting. And I'm sure people want to say, well, this is all Scott D'Amore's problem. No, it's not. Scott's not there. He's not there. Whoever's running production is causing. I don't care if it's Josh Matthews. I don't care if it's Gail Kim. I don't care if it's Tommy Dreamer. I don't care if it's Ace Steel. Yes, I know he's a producer. I've been told before, and I already knew before that. I don't care who is running production. It's not the same as creative. I've had my issues with creative when it came to Scott and his creative team. But whoever's running production, either it's Josh Matthews, Gail Kim, Scott D'Amore. Right now, he's not here, so you can't blame him. Whoever's running it, whoever's telling the cameramen, because the cameramen, if they're not told, they're doing whatever the fuck they want. This was the worst shot show I've ever seen. That could easily, if someone has problems with inner ear, they watch this, they'll get sick. I'm not kidding. If you try to glaze over it, you can't. Because I would tell you, anyone who has some type of problem with quick movements, like if they can't handle virtual reality, you get vertigo or something from quick movements or just bad camera work that zips back and forth, you're gonna get sick. And in fact, I had two people on one of my videos comment that camera work was terrible, and one of them got sick while watching it. So I'm sure they got sick and they were pissed. So let's start. Opening. Trent and Bailey versus the Rascals, where they did get help from a little bit of a Steve Macklin at the end of the match. Now, in between, when you could see the match, it was well fast-paced. You saw that when it comes to Trent working with Speedball, they actually got good chemistry. And you already know that Wentz, Zach, and Trey got great chemistry. You just know it. But I'm going to tell you the truth. Their chemistry is not as good until they got Macklin in it. Because this isn't like the old Rascals where they were smoking and messing around. This is where they literally have an attitude that fits the Rascals' attitude before. Because they're a lot more aggressive. They don't give a fuck. They're going to say, well, we're going to smoke whatever the fuck we want. And we're going to run all over y'all. That was done well. Now, later, Trent and Speedball were mad. They want to get back at them. I don't know how far they're going to go with it. But, as you saw with Trent last night, he didn't need to lose. I really believe Trent needed to win. It could have been better if he had had a jobber match as his first match as a singles competitor. Yes, he's doing a tag, but he deserved at least one singles match as a win. I don't agree with it. Next, we got a kind of a repeat from Thursday. We got Kushida and Kevin Knight, this time now they're in a match, versus the system of Eddie and Bryan. Now, we still got the same problem as the camera. But you can see Kushida and Kevin Knight really do have good chemistry. I really did like how the chemistry worked as a tag team. Does it need work? Yes. One of the things I think they need a little bit of work is during that match, they didn't have enough time to let it marinate. Because if you do not understand, sometimes you need to slow down and let the crowd soak it in instead of just going from one move to another, to another, to another, to another, to another. Bryan did that. Eddie did that. With Alicia by their side, it actually helped the story of the match. But when you see Kushida and Kevin, they just don't have it. They don't have that full understanding. Now, Kushida does show that he can slow down, but Kevin does not. He just is still inexperienced. He doesn't know how to slow down. He knows how to sell, yes, but he doesn't know how to slow down and let the psychology of the match work. Now, of course, the system won. No problem. But the question is going to be how well Kushida and Kevin are going to be sponsored in the tag division. Because that's going to be a big question, like with Trent and Speedball Mike Bailey. If they keep tagging, it's great. We got more people for tag. But it's going to depend how they're going to book the tag division. Because the tag division has been a mess. It just hasn't been great. And I'm sure you're going to say, dude, what about what's been going on? Yes, only 2 people. Well, not 2 people, 2 tag teams. That's it. Everyone else has been basically left at the wayside. I'm sorry I said 2 people. I think mainly the reason because of the best of 3, and you're seeing how when it comes to when you look at the grizzled young vets, there's still individuals that work really well together. And when you see Bay and Ace, they have become a very cohesive unit. And you could see that Ace and Bay are what the grizzled young vets need to be. Now, I've seen the grizzled young vets when they were Schism, when they were the Dyad, but they're so aggressive here. They almost feel like individuals just being heavily aggressive. I will talk about that match in a minute, but let's move on to the main card. Number 1 contenders match. It was set up just before this match when I think it was the tag match of the System versus Kushida and Kevin Hart that Kaz said, I managed to get this match because you want this match, fine, but I want to have it some real stakes. So what do we get? We get a number 1 contendership. Whoever wins goes up against either Moose or a Alex Shelley. And it was a good match when you could watch it. And I will say that the camera work was a bit less here, but it was still very bad. So you could see what was going on. But it botched at the end. And I'm not talking about what happened in the ring, because we got a match of Eric Young. You would think there was going to be Frankie Kazarian, but it's Eric. And then he wins. He rolls out of the ring. And you see Kazarian just mad at the ref, saying it wasn't 3, it was 2. And he says, no, I'm sorry, it was 3. But then, guess what? He grabs the ref. After he did it again, he cleans his clock, kicks his ass, and then starts kicking off his head. And then the other refs had to come in to pretty much stop it. Now, as I said before, the way Kaz is looking, he may actually go into the system because he's being so aggressive. And now calling, and I keep forgetting what Josh's wife's name is. You guys can tell me below what her name is. I keep forgetting. But telling her to say that I am the king of TNA, it sounds like it'll work, especially if he goes into the system. Because if you trust the system, long live the king. I do believe eventually, maybe in about a month or two, they will approach Frankie Kazarian and say, and it will be Eddie. It will not be Moose. It will not be Brian. It will be Eddie saying, look, we're Kowalski guys. You know I love you. Join us. I do believe that's going to happen. Next, the best of three. As I talked, Grizzled Young Vets versus ABC. Final match. Each one of them got one. The story of the first match was someone getting their shoulder messed up, and that was Ace Austin. The second match is when they managed to get their win back. And then we get this match. Now, when it comes to Grizzled Young Vets, like I said earlier, they were so heavily aggressive, even though they worked perfect together, they almost felt like two individuals that were working together perfectly. And when it came to Ace and Bay, they felt like a cohesive tag team. That's how aggressive they were. Now, it wasn't a bad aggressive. It just felt like they really don't know what characters they want to play here because they are working together. There's no problem. But once you see them in the ring, and yes, they are working a cohesive unit, and that's Grizzled Young Vets, they still feel like individuals. There's no character. They're just so aggressive and so angry. They just want it so bad, and now they lost. Question's going to be what's going to happen next. Because it was very good for what you could watch, because it was practically unwatchable. Saying it now. You saw more asses, more backs, and more headshots than anything else. And the thing that I saw the most closest camera angles from, and get this wasn't from the cameraman on the left side, where the hard cam is. And it wasn't from the cameraman on the right side, where they didn't want to move. They were both staying generally where they were here. This is where the ring goes. Here's the ring. They could go anywhere. They can go anywhere. They stayed at the very edges, both in the same place, the majority of the show. Not until the end of the show did they start to move. Someone had to tell them, stop moving your stupid asses. But it wasn't them who messed up in that match. It was the hard cam. The hard cam. The fucking hard cam. The camera that's supposed to take... Look. You see my environment. Look. You can see it. I'm not shy about it. I don't have a huge place. I'm in an old, worn-out apartment building. So I got to make whatever set I can. But the hard camera is supposed to do wide open shots. That is what the hard camera is for. Very rarely do you zoom in on the hard camera. And for the majority of the show they did. But for this match, they were going like this. You don't do that. I have never seen such disgusting camera work from the hard cam. You know which camera was the best camera out of the entire 4? Well, 5, because they did have an extra man who was up the ramp. There was an extra one in case of emergency. It wasn't the one that was here. There was another one, just like on Thursday, the day before. They had 3 men on the camera, regular hand cams, and 1 over-the-head cam, and 1 person on the hard cam. The over-the-head cam was the best shot of the entire night when you really want to see what's going on. And they barely used it. I'm moving on. PCO versus Khan. I will tell you, this was the 3rd most hardest hitting match we had. The 3rd most hardest. I enjoyed it. Now, was it perfect? No. This is the first time both of them are working together, doing a match, and it was sloppy. But I do believe there is room for improvement. Because you do have 2 wrestlers who are good in the ring. I've seen Khan when he was the Ascension. He can wrestle. He's not a slob. And PCO is PCO. PCO is no slob. He knows how to do the work in the ring. That Animator, understand, if I'm right, PCO is 56 years old. Or 57, somewhere 56 or 57, I believe. He's still older than I am. Or he at least is my age. He's in his 50s, let's say that. Because I'm not sure if he's 56. He could be 54, 55, or 56. But he's in the 50s. He's doing a move that could break a person's back. And he does it every time. I give it to him. That's why I like him. He's a nut. I'm wondering, maybe I should move to Canada. But people are really not. Tell me, if you're a Canadian down there, tell me, is it nice for someone who's from New York, who's very quiet, shy until you piss him off and he's loud as maybe loud as hell? Would people like someone like me? Give me a comment. But the match was not great, but it was not bad. And seeing that they continued the match and how violent they were, I enjoyed it. It was the third most hardest hitting match in the show. Let's move on. MK Ultra versus DK. This is where it became a major issue for me, because when you see the match, I didn't have a problem with it, but I couldn't see what was going on. Look, if I were going to put any images in, which I'm not, you had at one point where, you know how Rosemary rises up when she's on her back. She comes up kind of like the Undertaker, but she has her legs tucked behind near her butt. And now Killer Kelly's been doing the same thing. The cameraman was so sloppy, you could not see properly Killer Kelly climbing on top of Rosemary, and you barely saw Rosemary climb on top of Killer Kelly. At one point, we were seeing more of Killer Kelly's ass than her. And it doesn't matter if it was a cameraman or the people in the production truck who were supposed to switch to the hard camera that would have shown them both going on top of one another, instead of using the cameras on the side where either you saw them face-wise or you saw their ass-wise. It was, the majority of that match was almost unwatchable. When they did the hard cam or the overhead cam was the only time you could see it correctly. They did a good job for what little you could see. And even the ones when they went like this, you could see at least some of it. Some. And it wasn't a bad match. MK Ultra gets back their titles. They start beating down on the K and Jody Threat and Danny Luda, which is nice to see. They now have 6 women doing 3 tag teams came out to do a fight. Problem here, you just took 6 women, and now stuck them into the tag division where you have very little women other than that. Yes, you're still going to have Savannah Evans. You're still going to have Zaya Brickstone. You still have, you're going to have the champion. You're going to have the challenger. You're going to have, who else is there? There's supposed to be another woman there. If you're going to say it like that, I mean, you don't count Alicia. She's more of a manager than anything else. They need more women. They need more women to come on the main show that are not on Explosion. And I don't see Explosion. You say, God, dude, there's plenty of women. I'm not watching Explosion because I don't have TNA Plus. I can't keep forking out. Look, there are people who are now canceling their streaming services because there's too many of them to pay for. And I'm on a fixed budget. I am not going to start forking out more money when it's already hard enough to pay my bills. I'm just saying. Moving on. Josh Alexander versus Simon Gotch. The second best match of the night and the most hard-hitting match of the night. Let's make it clear. This was the second best match of the night and the most hard-hitting match of the night. It was the hardest hitting match of the night. Taking away from the No Surrender match, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. But I'm telling you right now, this was the best hard-hitting match of the night and the second best match of the night. This was a pure wrestling match. Yes, it got a little dirty, and I loved it. Was the story great? No. Simon Gotch getting pissed off because he wasn't signed to TNA. Well, Impact Wrestling at the time, nearly 6 years ago. And Josh was. It's not a great story. It just isn't. The only true story that would be good would be Simon Gotch versus Matthew Winwall. Matthew Winwall. That's the real story. Not Josh. It's Simon versus Matthew. No matter how, counting if Matthew can still wrestle, physically wrestle. Because he's only a commentator now. And I really don't want to see him stop going commentating. But if they do one story with them in a major match, I would be for it if it's only 1 or 2 matches. Rather see Matthew stay on commentary because he does a good job there. But this was the best hard-hitting match of the night. And I can tell you, when you tried to watch it, most of it you could see. The camera work at least cleared up enough that they didn't zoom in too much. But I'm telling you the truth, it was still hard to see because it got very frustrating that things they shouldn't be messing up on, they did. When they should be focusing on the main camera, they did not. They used more side cams, very few overhead cams. And it was really very difficult to watch it because it was that sloppy. But you could see a lot of good technical wrestling work. And Josh wins. To be honest, I kind of wish Josh didn't win. Because that could have helped the story between Simon and Matthew. But people are going to say, dude, well, this helps Simon. Because when he sees Matthew on commentary and he talks about him, he'll get pissed at him. Yes, he will. But I kind of wish he had gotten a win. And that would make it make him more cocky to say that I was always better than you, Matthew. And that could entice Matthew to come out of retirement as a commentator. I think he still wrestles off TNA. But it may be a little more better because I would rather see Simon cocky than Simon just piss the hell off and will take it out on anybody. Because everybody does that. I'm just saying. No surrender match. Essentially, this is what we get. We get a throw the towel in match. But renamed a no surrender match. The first time in TNA history or Impact history, they've now taken a match that is been done before. Throw the towel in, and they put a little tweak on it. Because if you throw the towel in, your guy's done. The other one wins. But they also put this part into the stipulation that your cornerman, that's what we call it, cornerman, cannot touch the other wrestler at any time. If he touches him or she touches him, because we could get a no surrender match for women eventually. If it's done, the match is over automatically because you will lose automatically. It'll be just like throwing in a towel. So that was a nice twist. And since it was no DQ, either one of them can do whatever they want. So in a sense, it was also a last man standing match, or more better yet, an I quit match, not a last man standing match. More better, it's an I quit match in a sense. Because one of the sides has to give in. But you don't say I quit. The other person either got to touch the other wrestler or throw in the towel. And it was the best match of the night for me personally. It was the best match of the night. It was a great match. And easily seeing how Kushida was acting, how Kevin Knight was acting, the one who did the best acting was Brian Myers, because since he's so close to Moose, and he's the one with the towel, because Kushida was the one holding the towel, he's the cornerman, you could see that Brian really cared about Moose, and he didn't want to see him get hurt. Now, of course, Eddie and Brian did everything they could to help Moose. And yes, Kushida kind of did a little work along with Kevin, but it was more Brian and Eddie. In the end, Moose wins. And now you're going to have Eric Young versus Moose. I do not know how they're going to make this work, because I would have thought Kaz might have been more interesting. But of course, Moose is a bad guy. Kaz is a bad guy. You don't want to pair them up. Of course, you had to go with Eric Young. But I felt that if they were going to do something with Eric continually with Kaz could have won. And then Eric just goes after Kaz constantly until a match happens. that's like a rematch for this, where he gives his opportunity up for the match to get rid of Eric Young, like a career versus the title. That kind of would have been good. I'm just saying. Seeing that Moose sold his leg injury, his knee injury, was good. Alex didn't sell very well when it came to his arm or his back. He didn't sell that well. But Moose sold his ass off. At one point, Moose set up a trash can, but not on its side, like this. And he took a straight suplex with it hitting here, collapsing in the edge on his back. Guys, we know these aluminum garbage cans. They normally crush. It saves you. But usually, it's not like, it's got to be like this on the side. So when it crushes, it doesn't hurt you too badly. We're talking about here. And it had to go crush in. And it was a sharp edge. I know Moose was in pain after that. That was a hard spot to take. But it was good. Moose wins. Let's move on to another match that was the second best match. Shaw versus A. Jordan Grace. Now, if you watch the match, you might be able to see what I saw. Now, for me personally, this is what I saw when I looked at Gazelle Shaw's face. I think she's upset. Now, she didn't take it out on not Gail Kim. She didn't take it out on Jordan Grace. I kind of wish Gail Kim had come out. But I'm not saying that she was being so rough because she was upset that Scott's not there. I'm telling you right now, when you see her walking down and was in the ring in her introduction, she looked upset. Now, we know for a fact, if you guys say, oh, she wasn't upset, yeah. We know for a fact the roster sent a letter to the CEO of Anthem asking to bring Scott back. This wasn't something that wasn't done. It was done. And I will talk about it in the Gump Report. I haven't made my Gump Report. I admit, I forgot. I had some shopping to do. I forgot. But it will get done. I will get one done. You will see it. And I'll try to be as lengthy as possible to make it work. But they were not happy what happened with Scott. I'm telling you right now. She had a kind of a look where, yes, she was trying to be professional. But she was upset. I think now, if Scott wasn't back there, because we did hear Scott was at another taping beforehand. Well, one show at a taping, I believe. And he's fired, but he was allowed to go there, I believe. I'm sure he wasn't happy. But it didn't stop her from pulling off a great match. But here's the thing. Jordan Grace won. Let's make it clear. She did win. The match was excellent. It was very little botches. It was very well done. Ash of Elegance came out. The Iceman introduced her. She was sitting at ringside, and she got angry that Gazelle Shaw lost. Now, I'm taking a guess that the way Ash is acting, she's going to take Gazelle Shaw under her wing. That's what I think is going to happen. Before she actually gets into the ring and messes with a Jordan Grace, she's going to work with a Gazelle Shaw. She's going to talk to her, I believe. Because she was pissed that Gazelle lost. But here's the thing. Seeing this, what Gazelle Shaw has had multiple chances at the title and could not get it done. This is not the first time she's had it. She's had it against Gail Kim. She's had it against Deonna Purrazzo. She's had it against Jordan Grace more than a few times. She's had it against Tasha Steelz at least once, I believe. Once with Tasha. She's had multiple times to try and get that damn title and has lost. And, of course, against Trin. And when it comes down to it, she has lost multiple times, but she has put on a great performance. What's the deal? They need to pull the trigger on her eventually. She's been in the company long enough that she has a good look. Taking away what she is, I know people want to say, dude, you know what it's not the point. It doesn't matter what she once was. As long as you sponsor her as a woman, you don't throw all the politics or any ideals in, just see her for what she is. Just see it. And when you see her, When you see her, what's the problem? She has a good look. She can talk. She can hold a promo. She can go in the ring. She's not a ring general, but she's worked with ring generals. She's worked with Gail Kim. She's worked with, see it like this, the general people who are considered ring generals. Gail Kim, Deonna Purrazzo, Mickie James. Trinity could be a ring general. She's a great wrestler, but she's been working on it. I think she's becoming a ring general. Jordynne Grace may not be a ring general, but she's a damn good wrestler. She's worked with Tasha Steelz. What is left? She's worked with Rosemary. What is left? They should pull the trigger on her. Sooner or later, she's got to get the damn title. Whether you like it or not, she's got to eventually win that title, whether she's a heel or face, because she has not been able to get it done. And this is not the first time. This is at least the 6th time that she's had a chance at the title from different women, either tag or main event. She can't get it done. So they got to do something. Final match. In Ali We Trust versus a Chris Sabin. Since 2005. It's been a long time since the X Division has closed the show. Now, it's closed the show on Impacts, but never a premium live event. Now they're saying, instead of pay-per-view, you're saying premium live event. Are you serious? They said it. This is one of the few matches where you could hear loudly the fans. Now, I want to say this. They still don't put mics on the fans. They still don't. They have to scream their heads off to sound like they care. Because if you saw the majority of the match, most of the time it sounded like the people were sitting on their hands. And I know people are going to say, dude, on X, it's not about that. Listen to my words. It's not about what I think. It's about what is presented. I've said this for years. What you see is reality. What is seen, reality, well, perception is reality. That's what I said. If you don't hear them, you think they're not cheering. And saying, looking in X, people don't do that all the time. They want to see it on the damn screen. So even though I know for a fact those people were cheering to a certain extent, because I know the mics in TNA or Impact before suck, or worse, they don't mic any of the areas so you can hear the people properly. This is what you get. Near the end of the show is when they finally started cheering, and guess what? The camera work got better. Enough that you can really see the match between Mustafa Ali and Chris Sabin. Now, seeing that he had agents there going, yeah, wearing glasses, going, yeah, yeah. Walking down the ring with him, wearing something that looked like Luchin Thunder Liger would wear something like that. It wasn't bad. The ring work, when they got in the ring, since the first time they ever worked together, unless they've been practicing at Can-Am, it was good. They got good chemistry. But you knew that Mustafa Ali was going to cheat, which he did. He cheated. He did what he could to win. It wasn't much. Very little cheating. But he did do it. The majority of the match was clean. Sabin jobs and Mustafa Ali wins. And it's the first time in nearly 20 years for the X Division to close a pay-per-view. Not premium live event. A pay-per-view. And it's the first time in history someone debuts, wins the title. Now, let's put this in perspective. Are people going to be happy about that? No. I'm telling you, as someone who's watched this product since 2010, I know for a fact people are not going to be happy. They're going to think, oh, another WWE guy comes in and gets a damn title when he shouldn't. It's not the point. At this point, it's not the point. And I'm saying this to anyone who's a TNA original who love TNA from the time they've been watching and then keep watching even though it sucked on and off over the years. Listen to me. At this point right now, this is not about if it's right or not that someone from another promotion originally came in and got the title. It's not. I'm telling you right now, I know you're not going to believe me, and I know you guys are not going to listen. You're going to still say below, this is not right, and you don't understand anything about TNA and Impact Wrestling. Like what happened, I mean, one person left a message, which if you know who you are, your messages have not been shown. I don't know what's going on. You used to leave me lengthy messages and I can't see them anymore. I don't know what's going on. Maybe you need to change your name. Maybe then you'll be able to actually leave messages because I haven't banned you. But you know who you are. You always leave me sonnets. And I see it on notifications, but I don't see the message to comment back. And I know you said Damon, it not his first debut. He's been there in 2016. It is his new debut. It's first time he's being seen as a new Damon. You say that he was there in 2016, that means nothing. He is now in a new TNA situation where we lost Scott D'Amore, whether you like his booking or not, and we got a man who is running the top and will probably run creative on behalf of the CEO who may just want to make money and not make wrestling. So this is the first time a Damon is seen, not because it's been since 2016, it's because this is not the same company anymore. This company is controlled by a corporation like WWE. So don't think that this is new. Not new. It is. I'm telling you, Damon is now new. That was his debut. Not re-debut, a debut. But you get my point. Everything that's happened now is due to the fact of TNA turning in. See it like this. Impact Wrestling is now turned to TNA. Because of all the new increase in money, because they got new increase in money. They got new merch, I'm sure. They brought back their old merch, which is now making them a good amount of money. Which, now if I'm right, the CEO sees and he says, you know what? I want to take this in a direction where it's going to make my network better. Not, I'm going to make TNA a great, huge promotion, my network better. And disagreements between him and Scott, fired. Now, of course, he did try to buy it, and they said no. Fired. So this is the first show without Scott. And I'm not surprised this happened. Now, even if Scott had put this in the schedule for Mustafa Ali to win, it doesn't matter. We now in a situation where we do not have someone who's leading the company in a certain direction. We now have maybe 3 people, including Ace Steel, maybe next to doing basic being producer. He could be part of creative. That's going to be Gail Kim, Tommy Dreamer, maybe Delirious is still there. When it comes down to it, we're going to have Ace, and I'm sure the new president is going to say something. There's 5 different people running this company. Instead of one voice, you're going to have 5 or more voices. This is going to be a big question of how this place is going to be. I'm not surprised. But the one thing that I'm sure everyone's going to think, and you know what I'm going to say, this show was ruined by the camera work. Great show that was ruined by the camera work. And just in case someone said, dude, you don't know they're going to get rid of the people on camera. If the reports are correct, the ones that are in the camera, not only they're going to be able to keep them, they're going to probably want them to do the same thing over and over again because it's easier to save video production. You never know. You say, they'll replace them. What happens if they don't want to pay for new cameramen or people in the production office? Peace.